It was the late winter or early spring of 2016 when my wife invited my father to join us in the theater for Civil War. My father, thinking he would see an epic about the American Civil War, said yes. But when he learned it was a Marvel movie and it would actually be smart to watch another 12 movies before he saw it, he didn't back down. He was actually intrigued by the concept of a shared cinematic universe. My father loves stories and stories combining to create another story that was immensely intriguing for him. He managed to watch 11 of them before he went to theater. The day after, he watched Ant-Man. A fan was born. And I'm sure of that because when I saw him coming out of the theater speaking of Spider-Man Homecoming with watery eyes, that it was as good as Doctor Strange. He loved Doctor Strange. It was his favorite by far. But unlike there was for Stephen Strange, there was no saving for my father. In his 14-year-long battle with cancer, the disease had struck the final blow. Last year, after leaving the theater having seen Wakanda Forever, he cried because he feared it was the last time. What can you do except hug him and promise him it won't be? Well, it wasn't. We went to see Quantumania. We went to see Guardians 3. But unfortunately, he was too ill to make it to the Marvels. And a few weeks later, he passed away. Marvel has lost a fan. Excelsior. Dad, I miss you. This is the review of Champions, and I'm your host, Grandmaster. With me is a powerful panel made up of the finest champions Sakara has to offer. Yeah, me and Mr. Taylor first. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Today we're going to talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. But before we do, I want to ask you all to help us out. Like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you really can't get enough of us, you can join our ranks. Go to sakar.freeforums.net, set up an account, get to know us, and yes, join us in our reviews or podcasts. We would love to have you on the show. Consider this your final warning. After this point, the spoilers are incoming. So if you haven't seen the movie, go to that first and then check out our review. We do our review in 3 rounds. First, we do quick thoughts, then we take a deeper dive, and then we end with a rating. And yeah, you never know which afterthought may come up. So let's begin. Aquaman. He's a king and a dad now, but some demons from the past, they come to hunt him. Well, Taylor, it's just the two of us, so let's dive right into it. Did you like the movie? Can I have your quick thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm kind of two minds of it. In and of itself, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was very Silver Age comic book story, very Super Friends cartoon-ish type story movie, and that's fine. I really have no problem with that. However, I can't help but compare it to other things and compare it to like the best of the genre that we've had in the last few years. It would be definitely lower tier as far as quality of the storytelling and the overall movie making. Although the effects and the visuals and the action was all good, but the story and the gripping of the audience and the trying to, as far as being memorable, it's just, yeah, it's good. It's a superhero movie.
Yeah,
I was entertained for 2 hours. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. To me, it was the same. It was a lot of fun. I had fun watching it. No doubt about it. It was all fine. It wasn't particularly good or bad. It was at least a lot of fun. Yeah. I have seen better ones. I've seen worse ones. And if you look at the DCEU, and I think later we will talk about that also a little bit. It's the end of the DCEU. Yeah, it's on par with what you expect from this universe at the moment, and actually it perfectly represents this whole franchise or this universe, I should say. It has its good moments. Overall, you can critique it for a lot of things, but in the end, it was fun. And I think in the end, that's the most important thing. You have fun. You go to watch a movie to have fun. And well, it certainly delivered on that aspect. Any particular dislikes you had, or really stand out things that you really absolutely loved about this movie? Jason Momoa's acting comes to mind.
I mean, Jason Momoa was having a good time. He was energetic, so I appreciate that. I don't think that the movie itself did much for the character of Aquaman. I think he was better portrayed in the first movie. He was just kind of like reset back to zero at the start of this movie. Only he had a kid at this point. So I mean, none of the acting was particularly great. The best acting in the movie was probably Orm, his brother, and I mostly liked the buddy cop aspect of it. The two of them worked well together. There was some, it wasn't there wasn't a lot of laugh out loud humor in it, but most of the humor, was okay. It wasn't eye rolling or make me groan or anything for the most part. I think most of the humor worked. I think a lot of the other actors were completely wasted. Nicole Kidman, uh, uh, Dolph Lundgren, they really didn't have anything to do. Amber Heard, who was in it more than a lot of people expected her to be in it, and I don't want to get into. I don't care about her divorce or any of that nonsense. But she had very few lines. She was there she was there more than you expected, but she said less than you would expect. At least that's how I felt while I was watching it. But she was fine. I thought the villain was good. As far as Black Manta villain, it was a little weird, and nothing wrong with this, but it was a little strange how they had this other villain, the ancient god who was trapped in the ice or whatever it was, the ancient king, who was sort of manipulating Manta or connected to Manta to the trident. And that's fine. That was the story. That was the MacGuffin. That was what was driving and gave Manta upgrade in power. But Manta was the real villain, and he was the cool part. When the other guy finally came out of the ice, it was kind of anticlimactic. Not a whole lot really happened there. They just stabbed him with a trident, and we're done.
Yeah. Well, let's just say Nicole Kidman and Dolph Lundgren hadn't their best performance in their acting career. And I agree with you. I look Amber Heard. We can go into all the details with her relationship with Johnny Depp, but in the end, DC chose to stick with her. She did a fine job, and it made sense that she was still in the movie as much as she was, because it was one of the main characters of the first one, and then not use a kind of character like that in the second one would be, yeah. Then you'd have to recast if you had problems with it, instead of writing the part to a minimum. Actually, she was actually quite important, as in the plot, because without her, Aquaman would have lost at several moments. So she was actually essential for Aquaman, and for what happened to him, and what happened to the story. Yeah, overall, I there was one thing that really bugged me, and it was actually the bugs. They start burning that stuff. I can't for the life of me recall what it's called, but they start burning that stuff in the volcano, and then all of a sudden the bugs turn big overnight, and then stuff like that. and that's a bit weird. It's just like they wanted to make like a lost kingdom with, ancient animals come to life, sort of story, without actually having dinosaurs walking around or something. But you know what I mean. And that was just weird to me. But um, but yeah, it's a guy who talks to fish. So in the end, you shouldn't really be
Exactly.
bothered.
I looked at it as very much of a fantasy story. There was really no sci-fi elements to this particular story, as far as I could see. It was very much trying to be a fantasy. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't want to even mention Lord of the Rings in the same sentence with this, but
No.
a hero's journey through a fantastical, story and land.
Yeah. But that to me it bugged me a little bit. But in the end, it's not really important in the story like this. Again, I was entertained for the most part. We can talk about the VFX that may at some point not been too great, or that it felt like James Wan was on autopilot while directing, because yeah, there was nothing really special about it. It was just like it was made in a factory and let's do it. We have to put it out because yeah, we promised. But uh,
Yes, there's a contract.
yeah, and I think the numbers in the box office show that people know it's the end of the DCEU.
Like I said, I think it was average, which, again, that's not bad, but it's nothing special. There's nothing jaw-dropping about it. And like I said, we've kind of been spoiled the last decade or so, and even somewhat even before that, because we've had, really great superhero entertainment from
Mhm.
MCU. Um, Even like the best of the Fox universe, like Logan and Deadpool. I mean, those
Mhm.
were vastly superior products to
Mhm.
this.
I would
And
like to
with the
throw in.
DCEU,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's what I wanted to say. I want to throw in Man of Steel, or like the second Suicide Squad movie, or there have been some great movies
Yeah.
in the DCU, at least that were more than decent. And yeah, the Aquaman, the first Aquaman actually. Um, if you compare to that one, yeah, it's nowhere as good as that.
And yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. In fact, I was going to mention some of the same movies: the first Aquaman, the Suicide Squad, the first Wonder Woman, the first Shazam. I think all of those were several steps above
Mhm.
this one, but not just this one. Every DCEU movie since the Suicide Squad basically has kind of been phoned in. It's just been safe, It's just been middle of the road. We're going to do a superhero movie. Here are the
Yeah,
story beats.
yeah,
Put it out. And again, not most of them haven't been bad, but they've just been very middle of the road, very, like I said, very safe, not trying to try anything new, and maybe that's intentional, maybe because they knew they're going to have a new DCEU, or a new DCU, I should say, and they don't want to put out stuff that's going to overshadow what's coming up next. I mean, that's just a thought, but I don't think that's a good idea. But um, you really have to say it, because when you look at, Black Adam, Fury of the Gods, Flash, Blue Beetle, they're all just very copy and paste AI written superhero story.
yeah. Um, uh, it also felt like, um, to me, okay, I have been there for the ride. I've seen Man of Steel in the theater, and I've and ended with Aquaman. I haven't seen Blue Beetle. That's the only movie I didn't watch yet. I will at some point, but I
have,
had other
have have
stuff
you
on
ever
my.
seen a superhero movie? Have you ever seen a superhero movie?
Yeah, a
You've
lot.
seen Blue Beetle.
Okay, then I don't need to watch it. But let me guess: Kid gets powers by stumbling upon something, and then he gets a bad guy with the same powers, and then he fights him or something like that.
There you go.
Okay, well, but no, yeah, but I will not miss the DCU. I will be honest. I mean, it has been, let me just say, not consistent in quality and story and stuff like that. It always felt like, oh, we think of something cool, we throw that into a movie where it doesn't fit, or Marvel has done something. You know what? We are doing the same thing, and it doesn't fit in the movie or with the character we're putting out a movie for. So um, I will not miss that. I'm not a real particular Zack Snyder fan, although at least that guy had a vision and knew how to portray it. Um, we can talk about editing, we can talk about writing, but that it was lacking. At least his visuals were always there, and at least he had a consistent tone, which never fit certain characters, but still, there was something there. But okay, I will not miss that. Do you have hopes for James Gunn and his particular vision, as we have seen glimpses of in the DCEU, but also, of course, in the MCU, that it will be better with the new DCEU that's coming up in 1.5 years?
I I'm so nervous about it, to be honest with you, because I really, really hope it's better. Everything you said about the DCU is correct. You know, Zack Snyder had his vision. Unfortunately, it wasn't really well received, and the studios were, became very reactive. Copy Marvel, like you said, do what they did, do it quickly, change this, change that. That didn't make as much money as we wanted to, so change everything, go in a different direction. So they never found their footing in the DCEU, unfortunately. Few bright spots, but mostly messed up. I don't know. I mean, James Gunn, okay, we know he can make great movies, but is that the same as making a great shared universe? And James Gunn is great with certain types of characters and certain types of stories, but will it translate to Superman? Will it translate to Wonder Woman or the Flash? I don't know. Maybe so. I hope so. Um,
Mhm.
I just hope that he plans it out well. He's got a obviously one man is not doing an entire
Mhm.
shared universe. Hopefully he's got a good team. He brings in the right people. They all work well together. They come up with a plan and they stick to it with flexibility. Of course, you have to adjust some things along the way.
Mhm.
But so much to rides on it. It's really strange that the first thing they're coming out with is the Creature Commandos animated show before they even come out with a live action movie. That seemed a little strange to me. I don't think many people are going to watch it, to be quite honest with you,
Mhm.
just because anime shows generally have lower audiences
Mhm.
than a lot of other stuff. But then they got that Superman movie, and that Superman movie is really gonna make or break them. And it doesn't have to be spectacular, but it has to be good. Right? It
Yeah.
can't be divisive. It has to be non-divisive and good. And good means like at a level of, it would be in the MCU type good, not the top of the MCU necessarily, but at least
Mhm.
good enough to say it's as good as some MCU products.
Yeah. Let's
And I just
let's
don't know.
let's say like it has to be on Spider-Man Homecoming or Doctor Strange level. It's not super great, but at least it's a consistent good movie, and it sets the tone for and it fits the universe like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that does have me worried though is this that they're still insistent upon keeping random elements from the DCEU, Amanda Waller, Peacemaker. Um, to me, that's just making it more difficult and more confusing, and just and more annoying. It's just annoying because I'm gonna keep saying, okay, so this Amanda Waller, we saw her interact with Ben Affleck Superman, but Ben Affleck Superman is not Superman anymore, but she's still Amanda Waller. But, so
Yeah.
it's a different Amanda Waller who just looks and talks and acts exactly the same and has some of the same memories.
Yeah.
I just wish they would wish they would make a clean cut. And I know it's tough because they've got a few little, they've got a great actress playing Amanda Waller. They got a really successful Peacekeeper show. So it's hard to cut the cord on there, but I think they should and just start fresh.
Yeah. Well, you see it in the MCU as well. They introduced animation a few years back with the introduction of Disney Plus and with What If and I'm Groot, and later we will get a Spider-Man show and X-Men come back, and I think and zombies, I think even. So, but you can tell that always changes also your universe a little bit, and not everybody can get along, can go along with that. I mean, not everybody can make that step. I can, but not everybody can, that's always a risk, and especially to start your universe with animation, that's a big risk. So James Gunn better knows what he's doing, in my
I think
view.
if the show, if the show is yes, it's in the same universe, but it's standalone. It doesn't have any direct impact on any of
Hmm.
the movies and stuff. In other words, you don't have to see it to watch the movies.
Hmm.
That'll be fine. That's okay. To have a shared universe of the kind of success that we're talking about, and they probably wouldn't say this publicly, but they want MCU level success. Obviously,
Hmm.
that's the goal. But to do that, you've got, it's got to be so integrated and so carefully managed and not so disjointed and mixed up and things conflicting with other things, because you've got to have that fandom who are really invested in the
Hmm.
thing to spread the word about how great it is and bring in more fans and stuff. Whereas if it's so hard, MCU did it, and even now they're having difficulties going forward at this point.
Hmm.
But they did it for a while. But it's just really hard to be that coherent and that quality
Yeah.
maintained.
Yeah, and it's not like the MCU has been without its problems. Also, in the Infinity Saga, there has been issues. I mean, Ike Perlmutter, just to name one. They changed the person who had oversight of the studio and stuff like that. So there have been issues, but at least they always have been on the creative side and knowing what they want and where they were going, and they had the directors and the writers say, okay, you can do whatever you want with the character, as long as you follow, make sure that the character ends up at this point so we can continue the
Exactly.
story. And what happens in the between doesn't really matter. Just make sure that,
Exactly.
and there were some points like you have to introduce this character or this story beat for the overall story beat, and the rest is up to you. And that always has worked. Marvel has lost that as well a little bit recently, and yeah, it's really hard to do that well. I mean, it takes a special kind of talent, and I am with you in this. I don't know if James Gunn is the person to do this. He could be. I don't know, but
Right.
I do have my thoughts about it in the sense that James Gunn is no Kevin Feige, and
And all the
even
stuff we're hearing about Superman Legacy and all these different characters that are going to show up in it, I just want to make sure don't go too fast. Don't try to do everything at once.
exactly,
Hopefully
but
they'll learn. Hopefully they can learn from Marvel's successes and from their mistakes and their failures along the
yeah.
way.
Because that was actually the biggest mistake of the DCEU made. I mean, in the second movie, they actually had the biggest event they had, and the rest. I mean, Batman
Exactly.
versus Superman. That was what everybody wanted, but you need to have a build up towards that. I mean, and not just do it in the second movie because you can, or because Marvel puts out Civil War, because that it always has
Exactly.
felt like that to me, at least.
Yep.
So, but anyway, um, do you have any thoughts on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, or was it that forgettable?
No, like I said, it was good. It was better than some of the other stuff that the DCEU has done.
Okay, I'm
Um,
gonna go out on a limb here. It was the best DCEU film of 2023,
yes, I agree with that. It was
and
better
I
than Blue
have not
Beetle. It
seen.
was better than Shazam, and better than the Flash.
Yeah, and it was also better than Black Adam, by the way. Which is not hard, by the way. Uh,
I mean,
and
I enjoyed Black Adam for the most part, but it definitely had some issues with the storytelling. It was
yeah,
undisciplined in its in its storytelling.
mhm,
I'll put it that way. But
yeah.
yeah, I put it about on par with Black Adam as far as entertainment value, and like I said, maybe a little bit better as far as the story goes.
Hmm. And a lot better than in the acting from the main character.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
anyway, no, but yeah, I enjoyed it as well. So let's just say I'm happy this movie was made, that we got to see it, and I'm also happy that the universe where it sets in has is done, and we're hopeful for the future, I guess. Taylor, I see you have a follow up.
Yes, that was right when it stopped. Yeah, one thing, and this isn't me actually. I didn't realize it until I watched the pitch meeting video on YouTube for this
Hmm.
movie, and it pointed out how in that last scene, Aquaman does the press conference, and his last announcement is that I am Aquaman, and it's exactly what Tony Stark did at the end of Iron Man.
Hmm.
And the guy pointed out that isn't it kind of weird that the DCEU ended exactly where the MCU started, with a hero having a press conference announcing to the world that he's a superhero.
Yeah, that is indeed a little bit strange. I actually also didn't realize that until you mentioned it just now, and actually, it's quite stupid that I didn't realize that. It's quite
I
obvious.
said I didn't either until someone else did on the
Okay,
YouTube.
okay. Well, Taylor, I think we can just put a number on this movie, and let's not rate the whole DCEU. Let's just keep it with this movie.
Sure.
Let me hear your rating for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Well, I really like the Aquaman character. I liked the main thrust of this movie, which was the buddy cop story with him and Arm. Although that jailbreak scene was kind of crazy, but okay, it was fun. So I'm just barely gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go 6 out of 10. I had too much fun with it to give it a negative number, but that is the bare minimum for me. And like you said before, we have seen so many superhero movies in the last 1.5 decade or so, and yeah. Um, it just didn't live up to the standard that we want as fans. Although it was not as bad as some of the other ones we have seen coming out of the same studio. So 6 out of 10, I think that's fair. 7 out of 10, I also think that's fair. That's our opinion on Aquaman 2. Okay. That will conclude this review of Champions for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. If you did, you can help us out by like and sharing this review and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you really want more of us, you can join our forum at scar.freeforums.net. We would love it if you join us. Be on the lookout for our next movie review, which may be Deadpool 3, maybe we do something else before that, but we'll see. And at some point, we will be dropping a new podcast as well. Could very well be about Jonathan Majors or something like that. But next week, we are going to start our Star Trek project. Yes, the podcast of champions is going to review Star Trek, all of it. Once a month, we will be dropping a new review for either a season of Trek or a movie. We do it in order of release, sort of. And next week, we will start with Star Trek The Original Series Season 1. Watch along if you dare. And for now, I want to thank you all, also on behalf of Taylor, and we wish you all to be safe and be well. Happy New Year. Bye.